Hey guys, Dion Taylor here. Now, as you might know, I did a couple of videos on the 2020 release wave 2. And in one of those videos, I talked a little bit about the new customer workspace app that was part of that release. Now, keep in mind, this app is still in preview, so not really intended for production use. Since the release, there has been some additional features that have been added. So in this video, I'm going to discuss those, show you how to set some of those things up, how to turn it on, etc. Let's dive right in. The Customer Workspace app is one of the two apps that has the ability to open multiple sessions on the right side of the screen. Now, the other app is that omni-channel for customer service that you can add on to your customer service license. So let's take a look at how that works. I have here my customer service workspace open already, as you can see. And to open a new session, which is going to be that tab on the left side of the screen, you just have to hold down the Shift key on your keyboard, and then you're just going to click into the record that you want to open. And I'm opening a case, as you can see. So I'm just going to give it a second here. Now, previously, when we looked at a productivity pane, this only had Smart Assist in there. And as you can see, that shows us the knowledge article suggestions and the similar case suggestions as well, right? So you can kind of link that then to that particular case that you're working on, or you can just say, is this relevant, yes or no? And the same thing happens for those similar case suggestions also. Now, the thing that happened was two of these items got actually added to this productivity pane. So we have here agent scripts, and that's exactly that, right? We're going through a couple of steps, and obviously people can pick a script, right? In this case, I only have one, and then they can kind of run through those steps. So I can see here, right? I need to greet my customer, and I can expand that, and it gives me an explanation. Greet the customer, ask how they're doing today. Then I need to verify some stuff, verify the customer details, such as their address, their phone number, etc., right? So I can click here into this contact and then make sure that that is correct. Then I also have here something that is called a macro. And think of macros as like a quick link to very quickly do things with just one click of a button. So you can see here, I have something that's called KB returns. I should just call this KB actually, because I changed this macro. What happens is when I click this, it's going to grab my case title and throw that in my search bar here in my knowledge base search. So this is just a good example, right? You can see here invoice amount is incorrect, which is the same as I have here on my case title form as well. And I'll talk a little bit later about how to set those up and what we can do with them. Another macro that I have over here is one to send an email. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. That is going to load my email form, and it's going to put in the subject line my case number, and again that title of that case as well. And then I can just go ahead and start typing and then obviously send that email. So you can kind of understand, right, how those macros really kind of help with agent productivity, because I don't have to navigate anywhere else. I just click that button and then that action kind of loads, right? It just, in this particular case, we had one that was an email that was sent, and then we had another one that just searched my knowledge base for that particular phrase that I have in my case title. Now, underneath the agent scripts, we have here knowledge base. That's another thing that was added. So I can just go ahead and expand that knowledge search over here, right? Start typing what I'm looking for, and then I will just see those knowledge base articles coming up. And again, you see that the title of the case is automatically loaded here in my search window as well. So all pretty cool stuff, I would think, but now let's take a look of how we can set some of that stuff up. I'm just going to go ahead and discard these changes. I'm going to discharge these changes as well. I'm just going to let this sit here, so we can go back to that a little bit later. And the setup for this is actually not in Customer Service Workspace. It's actually in the Customer Service Hub. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. Yep, we want to leave. Now I'm going to go down here to service management. And if you scroll all the way down, that's where some of these settings are. Now, before obviously you can start using that, you have to go ahead and turn some of this stuff on. So in order to turn this on, you go here to settings under analytics and insights. And you got to make sure that you turn this premium AI capabilities on. So you click here on manage, and then here you can enable the similar case suggestions and those knowledge article suggestions as well. And then you can change the case entity data fields for the data mapping as well, and the knowledge article data fields as well. I wouldn't do that because this really makes sense if you kind of read through what this does. But again, you have to make sure that this is obviously set up first. After that's done, you can start configuring that agent experience. So let's take a look at that. I'm first going to go into agent scripts. You kind of saw me earlier kind of working on that. And as you can see, you just put in a name. And then once you put in a name, you can start adding steps. And this is what you saw over here, right? Let me just go back here to my agent scripts. Let's just click on that. These are the different steps, right? First, I greet the customer, then I verify, then I click on my knowledge base macro if I need to, and if I need to send an email, I can do that as well. So what you see here, right, you see an order of steps, right? The lowest one is the first step, then the next step, then the next step, then the next step. And I put like 10 in between. So if I want to put between greet customer and verify something else, I can do that. Now, in order to create those steps, you can just click here on new agent step, right? You give it a name, as you can see, and this needs to be clear because you saw earlier, that's what the agent will obviously see, right? Then you put a unique name in. So let's just say, greet again. That's probably not what we're going to do. Oops. I'm going to do here greet underscore again. And then you can fill out the order. So where do I want it? If I want it between greet customer and verify, then I would do a number between 1 and 10. If I want it at the end, I can just do 31. If I want it between KB returns, I just need to do a number between 20 and 30. So let's say we're going to do this at the end. We're going to say this is 31. And then I have an action type. So what do I want? We saw earlier text, right? If I go back here, that text is exactly that. You're just going to go ahead and show a line of text, right? Then we also have a macro. So you saw that, right? You can just select macro, but you will need to have those macros set up so you can link them to that step, right? It's going to ask me to look for a macro. And lastly, we can also basically jump from one script to another script. Again, I only have one, right? So it's only going to show me that case script that I already have. But that's kind of how you do that. So let's just make this a text step. And my instructions are say goodbye. I'm just going to say goodbye instead of. And I can do save and close. And now you see that is my step number 5, goodbye. Okay, so now let's take a look at macros. So like I said earlier, I kind of think of a macro like a shortcut or something, right, to do certain actions. So that when that customer service rep clicks on that from that agent script, we can very quickly perform those actions, right? So I already set up 2. One of them is search knowledge base article for returns. Well, that's not what it is. This is just basically loading whatever I have in that case, right? basically what it's showing here is, right, it just starts here with my start macro execution. And then what we can do in here is we're going to search the knowledge base for the populated phrase. So the way that this works is a little different from the way that macros work in Omnichannel. What we actually have access to is some of the fields that are loading here in our session, right? So I can use the case title, and if you know what that case title's system name is, right, that is actually title. So what you need to do here is do that $sign. I can actually zoom in on here a little bit. $sign, and then you get the little curly brackets, anchor, dot, and then the field name. Now, I was having some issues with lookups. I don't know why. That might just be different, but I talked to Microsoft and they told me that this is the way it works. So we have access again to this data that is in here. But again, it seems that some of these lookups, I can't really populate that, because what I tried to do is to also populate the actual case unique ID in that email macro that you guys saw earlier. So let's take a look at that. I'm just going to go ahead and go to send email. Right? What we can do here is we're opening a form to create a record, and it's asking me for the logical name for the system name, right? That's email. And then there's some advanced options here as well. So what you need to do here, I know this looks a lot like Flow, but it's not really the same. So what you need to do here is first you need to put in the attribute name. So on the email entity, what is the name, the system name of the field that I'm trying to populate? Well, that system name is the to field. And you can see here that I'm trying to put in the primary contact ID, but for whatever reason, it's just not loading it. So, okay, I tried it, but again, it's not loading it. And then what I also want to populate on that email is the subject field, right? That's that subject line of the email. And what do I want to put in there? First, I want to put in the ticket number, right? That's the case number. That's the system field for the case number. Then I do a dash, and then I put in the case title. So again, you see that $sign, curly bracket, anchor, dot, and then system name of the field. And then I have a dash, and then again, $sign, curly bracket, anchor, dot, and then the system name of the field again, and then that closing curly bracket. And then again, right, I try to put in that customer ID here as well. Again, didn't work, not sure why, but it just seems that some of these lookups are just not really populating in here. Now, if you want to take a look at the run history, just like you can do with Flow, you can do that. So let's take a look at that. And this is also where you can kind of see some of this stuff, right? What is actually coming in, what's going out. So let's take a look at that, the one that I just did. So you can see here it started the execution, and then it opened a new form to create that records. And what is going in? You can see here that nothing is actually coming in as an output for that to field, right? But for the subject, I'm getting that case number, and then I'm getting that title. So, and again, my customer ID field is also not working. So then it's actually creating that email with those fields populated. So again, if you're trying to troubleshoot, you can always use these runs for that as well. Now you could also, let's just go back here to macros, hard code some of this stuff, right? So for example, the search knowledge base for returns, let me actually create that from scratch. KB returns. I'm going to say that's hard coded. I can put in a description over here, right? And then as you can see, you can have some predefined automation actions. So we're going to go ahead and start that macro execution. We're going to go ahead and click a new step, and now we can choose, right? I'm going to click here on productivity automation, and you can see here, these are some of the things we can do. So we can open a record grid, we can have an action to resolve a case, open an email with a predefined email template. We can clone a record exactly. So you can see here, there's a lot of stuff that we can do here. We can save the record, etc. So I want to do a relevant search. And remember, we're going to say this is going to be for KB returns. So I'm going to do return. So I'm just hard coding it, right? What you saw earlier was that I was grabbing information from this particular case, right? Which was the title, but now I'm just hard coding it. I'm going to do save and close. And I have just created my macro. Now, in order to add them to the agent script, we just saw that. Let's just go ahead and actually update this guy, because this is not a knowledge base for returns. This is just my regular knowledge base. I'm going to save and close, but let's add a step over here between the knowledge base and the email. So that's going to be, let's do 25. Knowledge base return search. And then I'm going to say this is between these guys. This is going to be a macro. And I'm just waiting for that field to show up. Here it is. Let's search. Here's my hard coded. And I'm going to do save and close. Now, the other thing that you would need to do is actually tie this to one of these session templates, right? So you can see here, I have a case session custom template that I created. And you can see here that I have some tabs that are automatically loading. So this is the agent scripts that I was talking about, right? Here's my case script. So you would just go ahead and do add existing script, pick your script, and then you would add it like that. Now let's go ahead and close this and try this again. And then let's reload. So again, shifts and opening the case. And let's go back to our agent script. And here is our return search. So let's click on that macro. And you can see here, right, I just hard coded that search on here. Now it's not finding anything, but you kind of understand, hopefully, the way that this works. Now, this session template is important because, again, we can load agent scripts and we can have additional tabs also load, right, when somebody actually starts a new session. And I actually did a video on this as well, where you need to actually use the app profile manager to assign these profiles to users. And in that app profile manager is where you're going to also attach that session template, right? So that's kind of what you see over here. So I will drop a link to that video on there as well, so you can take a look at that as well. So then we have application tabs, and that's what these guys are, right? So again, everything is being linked back to this session template, right? Our tabs, our agent scripts, and our macros are tied to our agent scripts, which again are tied to the sessions. So I can go in here, right? And this is some of the additional things that we can set up. Let's take a look here at my CSR dashboard. So what you can do here is you can choose what type of page that you want to load on here, right? And this is on the top over here. Let me just give it a second while this loads. These tabs over here. Now, again, you don't see that here in my tab because I don't have that session template, or I should say, I don't have that app profile assigned to me that is actually pointing to that one. So that's why I don't have those tabs. But again, those tabs will automatically load up top here. And then lastly, there's notifications. I'm not sure how we're going to use this yet, because if you take a look at this, right, it's basically telling me notifications for, you can see here, timeouts, accept buttons, etc. So at this point, I don't really know where we could use this, because in Omnichannel, you get those notifications if a chat comes in, right, through Facebook or whatever channel you have set up, but we don't have that in here yet. So, but this is definitely something I think we're going to be able to use later as well. So again, once this is all set up, you can just go ahead and then assign that app profile. I'm not going to go into how to build it and all that kind of stuff, but I did want to show you real quick. You just need to go to make.powerapps.com. And then you need to make sure, obviously, that you are in the correct environment. And then you can go here to apps. And then you can search for that app. So I'm going to say customer service workspace. And if I click on the ellipse here, this is my app profile manager. So I can just go ahead and click on that. And this is the app profile manager. So in order to assign one of those profiles, I can just go ahead and click on that. So this is my customer service workspace default profile, and this is my custom profile. So if I go ahead and click on that, once you open that, this is where you can assign those users. And you can see again, right, that we're going into the customer service hub. So you just click on add existing user, pick your user, and that's how you assign that profile. Keep in mind though, that you can only have one profile per user. So it's not like security roles where they can have multiple and they stack on top of each other. It is just one of those profiles per user. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you do, please hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn back in next week for yet another new video. Thanks so much and stay safe, everybody.